You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Reunited at the holiday season. It's quite a meaningful kickoff to the show before the show on this week's episode of the official podcast of Minor League Baseball. Tyler Mon, Sam Dykstra, Benjamin Hill. First time I've seen your two bearded faces in quite some time, and it feels great to be back with you, gents. How are you?
Good. Yeah, I mean, you could have gone with lovely or handsome or no. You just...
Stunning.
Stunning. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking about you guys yesterday because
that's nice.
That is nice.
I think about you guys every day.
Well, I guess first we should know the context.
Yeah.
Ben's like, I was thinking about you guys yesterday when I was putting my list together of most annoying people I know. I'm like, dang it.
I was just compiling my revenge list and the forms.
He got us again.
I will mete out upon those who have wronged me, and you guys came up. But no, I remember last year. It was brought up, and I'd never heard of this. Of course, it's kind of a thing, but the Last Christmas Challenge, where you try to go as long as you can without hearing the Wham song "Last Christmas." And last year, we agreed to do that on this podcast, and I was quickly eliminated by working here in New York City, right on 6th Avenue, right near Rockefeller Center. There is just, what do you call them? The pedicabs.
Yeah.
There's pedicabs are everywhere.
I remember this. Yeah.
And they blast music, and a lot of, sometimes the drivers wear Santa suits this time of year. So last year I was eliminated because one of those pedicabs was blaring Last Christmas. And if we didn't agree on doing the challenge this year, but I would have been eliminated because I heard one just yesterday. You can't work in this part of town and avoid these pedicabs playing Wham's Last Christmas. That's what I'm saying.
I say that, you say that, and I have so far. I have avoided it to this point. One of the, I don't know, somebody was blaring it the other day. It was a Wham song, and I'm like, oh no, I'm out. But it was Wake Me Up Before You Go. It wasn't Last Christmas.
Wham is terrible. I'm sorry, people who love the 80s. Wham is so bad. So bad.
Oh, come on. You've never set your alarm clock to wake me up before
you go? God, I hate it so much. Yeah, I will say, I think we established this ground rule last year, but if you hear a cover of that garbage song, does that count?
Does not count.
Okay. So I heard a cover last week. I've not heard the original, thankfully. Sure, it'll only be a matter of time. It's God. Ugh.
I was saying this the other day, though. This challenge has affected me in the holiday season, and that I avoid Christmas playlists.
It's ratcheted up your anxiety.
Yeah, I was driving back to New York from Massachusetts for Thanksgiving, and realized I was on a Christmas radio station, and I immediately changed shit because I was just like there's no predicting what's going to come next. And I'm like, this is who I've become now. Is like winning. There's no prize for winning this challenge.
Oh, except for your own mental health to not have to listen to that garbage song. Oh, it's terrible. Wham's terrible. Come at me, old people. Wham's terrible. I'm an old person, and I can yell about the other old people now. Well, I'm glad that we are once more in the holiday spirit of trying to avoid Wham. And we welcome you into this week's episode of the show before the show, and thanks for hanging out with us. You can, of course, get in touch with us, podcast at milb.com. It's so good to see you guys. It feels like it's been forever. Ben, you and Sam get to be in the festive mood of winter meetings time. We were talking about a different winter meetings season is now than, when we first started this podcast a while ago. But I feel as though just being around each other and being in the MLB offices at this time of year has got to be like, you're closer. I was around baseball the last couple of weeks, but you guys get to, you're still feeling the warm embrace of baseball, even though it is December, whatever it is right now, when it feels so far away.
Yeah, no, we feel that embrace every day. Today was the annual fire sale, where there's just a bunch of very cheap discounted goods in the office for laid out in the cafeteria, and we line up according to our last names and pick the wares. It's usually some surplus stuff. There's a lot of All-Star game cowboy hats or beach hats or whatever you want to call them, straw hats with
I do remember a couple years ago, one of our fearless leaders, Jason Ratliff, bought me a pair of, you could probably see them on a shelf behind me somewhere, a pair of spikes from the 2021 MLB All-Star game because they have the Colorado State flag on them, which is like something that I make fun of all the time for people just slapping the Colorado State flag on things. Jason was like, these are like $5. Can I buy them for you? I was like, yeah, sure. I am very sad that I'm never around for that fire sale. I feel like I'd waste a lot of money on it.
Well, it's hard to waste money because they keep those prices low.
Oh, well, that's good then.
Yeah.
Seems like a smart thing. How many of those hats did you buy? The cowboy hats?
I just bought one because I really thought, I need a beach hat, just the
Yeah.
brim all the way around.
Sun safety.
This on the beach. Yeah. I got a Cleveland Guardians hat from my dad, a drawstring bag to throw in my closet because you never know when you need a drawstring bag. Down East Wood Ducks team card set.
Aw.
Very on brand.
Yeah, very on brand.
R.I.P. to the
Yeah.
dudes.
Yeah, just a little smattering of goods, but it's a nice company tradition here. And yeah, we feel the embrace of baseball every day.
I mean, when something happens like Luis Severino signing with the A's, and you just hear the whispers of it go across the office.
That's pretty cool.
It is
Yeah.
like to have everybody have an opinion immediately on both Luis Severino as a free agent and the A's signing a pitcher for the largest contract in franchise history. Is pretty cool. I mean, you don't get that in your average office, I'm sure.
That is very true.
Yeah, and then you walk out into the street, and beyond hearing wham, you look around and you're like, you're just in this environment where so many people cared about the same thing, and then you look around the swirling, chaotic city, and you're like, why is
You're like,
everyone
none of these people care about Luis Severino?
Yeah, like what? We just came from an environment where that was the topic of the day. None of these people care. What are you doing?
Nobody's talking about this signing. The A's are throwing money out there for Luis Severino. Very strange. Well, I'm jealous of the ability to purchase things like a Down East Wood Ducks team set and all the rest. But Sam, what'd you get? Anything cool?
I got an Expos hat, which one of my vacation trips this year was to Canada for the first time, and we went to Montreal. So now that I feel like I've been there, I could get an Expos hat.
Yeah, I like that. I like that classification. You were gallivanting
without judgment.
Yeah, not living a lie, as Sam Dykstra.
You were gallivanting around the world recently, and I have seen the photos from the trip. We've talked a little bit about the trip, but the trip looked like it was amazing.
No, it was great. It was great. It was, to Scotland for a bit, then to the Catskills in Montreal, and highly recommend Isle of Skye if everybody's ever interested. I was out there for 5 days. Could have done 7 or 8 and still had plenty to do. It's one of my favorite places in the world. So grateful I was able to do that. Tyler, you were around the world. You were in Taiwan for a bit, and you were in Tokyo after that doing Premier 12 stuff, which we've talked about on the show and explaining your absence. But I was extremely jealous of that Chinese Taipei upset win over Japan with Yu-Min Lin on the mound, who I got to see at the AFL, and I do the D-backs list, so I'm aware of Yu-Min Lin. But like now for him to become an international star like that, what was it like calling the game and witnessing it firsthand?
It was so cool. I have rarely seen a guy in a game that big pitch with the confidence that Yu-Min Lin did. Yu-Min Lin had a very weird season this year in the Diamondbacks organization. 21 years old, Yu-Min Lin, in his now 3rd year, I believe, in full in the D-backs organization. But this year missed a bunch of time after getting struck in the face by a foul ball. Back in May, fractured bones in his face. He missed some time and still put up some really good numbers in the work that he did have. He pitched one appearance in a relief or in a rehab outing at the ACL, the Arizona Complex League. We got most of his work in AA Amarillo this year. Put up some really good numbers. Had a sub-4 ERA in Amarillo, which is almost impossible with how well the ball travels there and how much of an offense-friendly ballpark that place is. But Yu-Min Lin, having had a bit of a limited workload this year with only 104 innings pitched, I think worked out really well for the fact that he could go back to Taiwan, work with the national team, and pitch for Chinese Taipei in Premier 12. Because if he had had a full season's worth of work, maybe he goes to the fall league, but probably doesn't get the international work at the end of the year. But was able to go pitch in the internet in Premier 12 for Chinese Taipei. He worked with a fellow D-backs prospect in Lyle Lin, and some guys who know what it takes to succeed against really high level talent. And for Yu Minlin to go out and throw 4 brilliant innings against Japan like he did in the World Championship final was just so cool to see, doing it in the Tokyo Dome, 50,000 people there, a good contingent of Taiwanese fans there cheering for Chinese Taipei, the name of the team that represents Taiwan. But still, that's a hostile environment. I mean, you're going in against a crowd that is, probably 95, 96% in favor of the home team. And Yu Min goes out and dominates. The bullpen comes in behind him and dominates. And Chinese Taipei got the job done. Che-Shen Chen, who's their captain, hit a 3-run homer that was really the game-breaking shot in that game. And I was doing those games with JP Morosi and Ryan Roland Smith. And JP said in one of our broadcasts, this is a guy who could play in the big leagues right now in Che-Shen Chen. And Chen is 30 years old and has said, this is kind of it's a young man's game to try to go play in the big leagues in the United States. I'm committed to playing in Taiwan. I love playing in the CPBL. I want to let the young guys have those opportunities. And that was very cool. But to see a guy like that get his moment in the sun was also very cool. Congrats to USA Baseball, which came away from Premier 12 with a bronze medal. Really did not play its best ball until late in the final round. Got to Tokyo and kind of squeaked its way through. Only 4 teams made it to Tokyo this time around for Premier 12, which is, essentially a smaller version of the World Baseball Classic. Doesn't feature big league guys or 40-man guys, but it features, big leaguers from Japan, Korea, Taiwan, and elsewhere. And for USA Baseball, it looked for a while. They started 1-2 in the opening round. It looked for a while like they were not going to make it onto the Final Four. They did. Then they lost their first 2 games in the super round, as we call it, before rallying to beat Venezuela in the final game of the super round, which took Venezuela out of contention for the World Championship game. And then they beat Venezuela again the next day to win the bronze medal. And we saw some really impressive work. Carson Williams, the Tampa Bay Rays prospect, put out an outstanding performance together in that. Chandler Simpson, a fellow Rays prospect, was really, really good. Matt Shaw of the Chicago Cubs was really good. Termarr Johnson was outstanding. He was a lot of fun to watch. But the guy who really was the hero for the U.S. was Ryan Ward, who has been one of the minor league leaders in home runs over the last couple of seasons. A Worcester, Massachusetts product, a guy who's in the Dodgers organization, who spent this past season and the year before with AAA Oklahoma City. By the way, I did ask him about the Oklahoma City Comets rebrand, and he was like, I'm excited because last year we had to wear a different jersey like every day. So I'm excited that now we'll just have like one set of uniforms. So we can just go out and put on the same uniform every day. But Ryan Ward was amazing. I think he finished the tournament with 7 hits and 5 of them were home runs. So he pretty much continued along the track of what he did throughout the entirety of the 2024 season, when he hit 34 home runs, I think, between AAA and one stop in a rehab game. So it was cool to see that for Ryan Ward. Super nice guy. And it was fun. It was fun seeing those guys out there. Obviously, Rich Hill got a lot of press. The fact that, Rich Hill was part of that team and got to pitch for a national team and win a medal with his guys. That was really cool. Drake Baldwin, a young catching prospect in the Atlanta system, was really impressive to watch. So there were a lot of very talented guys who made big impacts, and it was a bunch of fun. If you look at the rosters of the Chinese Taipei team, Korea and Japan, good amount of those guys who I think we will probably be seeing make their way over to the United States here in the next few years. Do Young Kim is probably the one to keep the closest eye on, the star from Korea, the shortstop prospect, who's just incredible to watch this year. But it was fun. It was a very fun trip. Big congrats to Chinese Taipei. Taiwan gets its first world championship at a level like that, which was very cool. And yeah, man, it was fun. It's now we stare down the barrel. Like, I was looking forward to Premier 12 all year, and now it's like, oh, right now it's winter time. It's like the fun thing to follow up the regular season and the postseason and the AFL with, and now it's over. Time marches on. The inevitable coming of winter has arrived. So that's what I was up to for the last few weeks. It's pretty cool stuff. It's pretty fun stuff. And I have been missing you guys quite heartily, especially because I didn't get to talk last week about a few of the rebrand/refresh things on the minor league baseball landscape. But this week, I get to talk about a new look, although a same name, a brand refresh for the Lake County Captains. Benjamin Hill, give us the breakdown and your thoughts on Lake County's new look.
Yeah, Tyler. I mean, first of all, it was devastating you weren't with us when we talked about the Wilson Warbirds, when we talked about
was
the
bummed.
Chesapeake Bay Sox, when we talked about the Salt Lake Bees, when we talked about the Hudson Valley Big Apples.
The Big Apples.
We had so much to talk about.
I know. I
And
really
you
blew it.
missed all of it.
Salt Lake, tremendous job, by the way. I feel like their new the refresh mark's very good. Chesapeake, very good. The Bowie Bay Sox desperately needed an updated look. I was hoping they were going to rename themselves the Poles, like named after Adam Pole, the legendary longtime voice of the Bowie Bay Sox. No such luck for me, but I do enjoy the Chesapeake Bay Sox identity. But Lake County, the Captains, a new look for the Captains.
Yeah, it's definitely a new look, but at the same time, it's not going to, blow any minds in terms of radical reinvention. Tyler, like you mentioned, this team is still called the Captains, and a lot of the branding elements are, variations of things that have been used throughout the franchise history. Lake County Captains, for those who need a refresh, they play in Lake County, Ohio, specifically East Lake, Ohio. It's a suburb of Cleveland. They're less than 20 miles away from the big league club. They are the high A Cleveland Guardians affiliate. The Captains branding in general has been in large part due to the reference due to the proximity of Lake Erie and the maritime nautical history in that area. And yeah, they have a new look. And it refocuses the captain himself, the literal captain. They've had a captain as part of their identity since 2003 when they were established after relocating from Columbus, Georgia. Feels like a lot of teams.
Back in the news.
Yeah, back in the news. They got a new team next year. It seems like Columbus, Georgia comes up a lot.
I do feel like we've talked about Columbus, Georgia a lot. Like enough that when you said it was like, oh, the Red Sticks, the former home of the Red Sticks, or weren't they the South Georgia Waves? Weren't they in Columbus, Georgia too?
Yeah, and they were the original Mudcats were in Columbus.
Yeah,
Georgia.
Right.
Yeah, there's a sneaky history in Columbus, Georgia. A lot of kind of obscure teams.
Yeah. Weird.
But
anyway,
yes, Columbus, Georgia relocated to Lake County, Ohio, became the Captains. And that initial primary logo had a captain in it. And when they rebranded again, and I believe it was like 2011 or so, 2012, there's a captain logo. It wasn't part of the primary logo. And now the captain is back, and his mustache and appearance in general is swarthier and bushier than ever. Tremendous white mustache. He's still got like the naval jacket kind of uniform, some new additions to it. The baseball cuff on his sleeve jacket. He's carrying a baseball bat. Previous captains, captain logos, or at least the original one, it was more of a side profile. You couldn't see the facial expression. This one is looking right at you through his preponderance of facial hair, which is mostly a mustache. It's like a bigger mustache than most men have beards, this captain. And they've got some new fonts around it, some new word marks, and the word marks are modeled after the Cleveland Indians of the 70s when they had what was called caveman font, if you remember that. It's kind of jagged. I can see how it's caveman font, I guess, because that's how cavemen would draw on their cave walls. I don't know. It looks like it could be kind of Flintstones type typography, but they brought back the caveman font, or not brought it back, but brought it to them, borrowing from the Cleveland teams of the 70s. And that C logo, the C in Captains, has a anchor right in the center of it, so it is anchored by the literal anchor. And they also have an alternate logo where they're the Caps, and apparently that's a nickname of the team around Lake County at the ballpark. I personally have never heard them referred to as the Caps, but there is a Lake County Caps logo, and some of the uniforms just say Lake County Caps, so that's a new one. Not Captains, but just Caps. And I'm looking at this article that I wrote right now. Sam, if you could just scroll up a little bit. And if you look at the uniforms here, I know our listeners cannot look at them right now. But the home uniform features the word mark in the caveman font that says Captains, with then the primary logo underneath the word mark. And I was talking to Alan Miller, the owner of the team, who also owns Official League. So, of course, there's a lot of new captains merch because they have their own Official League new captains merchandise. But he was saying, as far as he knows, and I couldn't come up with anyone, I feel like Tyler, you'd be a good candidate. But he said there's only one other baseball team he was aware of, or that anyone he talked to was aware of, that had in like the jersey the primary logo underneath the word mark. And I asked Sam this question.
Got it in one.
And he got it in one.
So Tyler, the pressure's on you. Who is that team that has the primary logo on their home jersey beneath the team name?
All of baseball, professional baseball.
So not just the major leagues. This includes the minor leagues. Oh, it is a major league team. I could tell by Sam's reaction. I'm gonna say major league team. Under the word mark. I feel like this is going to be very obvious once I.
It sort of is. It washes over you. Like it's not something I immediately think of with this team, but
yeah, when I was on the phone with Alan Miller and he brought that up, I didn't have an immediate response when he brought that up. But then when he said it, I was like, "Oh yeah!" And of course, I feel like there must be other examples, but I'm not aware.
The designation under the word mark is interesting because I feel like you can think of like a million teams that have like the Cardinals have the birds on bat in the logo, in the word mark. Oh man. I don't want to, I'm going to think about this and I'm going to hold my hands right here so you know that I'm not Googling it. I'm going to think about this, but I don't want people to think that I am Googling, and I also don't want it to just all of us to sit in silence here. So I'm going to think about it, and then I'm just going to yell it out when I think of it, if I think of it. But please continue along. I'm coming. Oh, the Toronto Blue Jays.
There
it is.
The Blue Jays.
And we will confirm for the listening audience at home. Your hands were.
I did have my hands on. They were in the screen. They were in the screen.
Yeah, but I heard those toes a tapping.
Those toes.
I'm very dexterous when it comes to my sneaky Googling.
But the Blue Jays are indeed the team. Yeah. Yes. But one other thing I want to touch on with these jerseys, Ben, is when I think of Lake County captains, I think of blue, I think of yellow, I think of white, which are incorporated in the home and roads. But then they also have alternate reds now, which obviously ties into the Guardians themselves.
Yeah, and it is a red Guardians color. I don't think they will wear that very often. I think I watched the announcement live on Facebook just to see if there's anything I'd missed, and they specifically referenced those as the 4th of July uniforms.
Okay.
So,
but still, the away jersey, I misspoke a second ago. They have like powder blue alts, which I'm sure they'll wear a decent amount, but then their aways are with red.
Yeah, color. And then so there's a base red 4th of July jersey that says Caps, but the road is gray, but in red. Lake County in that caveman font
with a red belt and red accents around it. So
red.
That feels a little bit new.
Yeah, that is new. So they put a lot of thought into it. As I said, the team owner Alan Miller, has Official League and apparel companies, so they put a lot of thought in the logos and merchandise, and they've got a whole lot of like pretty nice looking jackets. They're into jackets at Official League, so if you like minor league jackets, which you don't necessarily see very often, check out Official League. But and that it doesn't totally close it. We have another logo refresh next in January, but I think this will close it out for the year as regards the refreshes, rebranding, new names, everything like that. Of course, we'll have a lot of Copa identities coming. We'll have a lot of alternate identity and one-off type stuff. One more team to refresh in advance of 2025 in January, and we'll see what else comes our way. We can still be surprised, even after all these years.
That's how we keep this podcast fresh and spicy.
Exactly.
And that is Benjamin Hill. You can find, of course, all over the social medias at Ben's Biz and at The Ben's Biz on Twitter and on Instagram, respectively. And coming up, we're going to go to the Boston Red Sox organization and catch up with left-handed pitcher Connelly Early, who is into his first offseason after his first full season as a professional player, a 2023 draft selection. Connelly Early joins the show from the Boston Red Sox system coming up next.
Well, we're very pleased this week on the show before the show to be joined by number 24 Red Sox prospect Connelly Early, currently going through your second offseason. You got a little bit of experience of how a professional offseason goes last year, but you're in the midst of your second one so far. Thanks so much for joining us, Connelly. How are you doing?
Good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much for doing this. So let's kind of start off with that. I mean, this is your second off season. Having been through that for the first time last year, you're kind of over the fact that normally you would be in class now, like that you're officially in pro mode. But what lessons did you take from last off season, and how are you implementing them in this one?
Yeah, so I feel like the biggest thing is you go into that first spring training and you don't really know what to expect. So you're kind of there and trying to get like the routine of getting into everything there. So you end up realizing, where you need to be when you're coming into spring training. So this second off season, it's just really a lot of focus and determination, like trying to stick to my routines in the weight room, nutrition, and throwing, and just trying to put my body in the best spot coming into spring training.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we were talking a little bit about this before we started recording, but I don't think many people at home quite know what the timeline is for a pitcher, especially going through the offseason in terms of what your workload is like right now. So as we sit here early December, spring training is about 2 months away. Where are you in terms of that progression?
Yeah, so right now, we took a tiny bit of time off after the season, and then kind of started building back up with the deload phase, and then started getting into pull downs and some stuff like that when I was down in Fort Myers at the spring training complex, going through the off season training, and then as soon as I got home, we've just kind of tried to keep building on that ramp. So right now, I'm throwing 6 times a week. I have like 2 high days and then like a third high moderate day with 3 recovery days in there. So I'm throwing 2 pins a week, which is pretty much like anywhere from 15 to 20 pitches right now. And then that'll just keep ticking up until spring training comes around.
Which we were saying a minute ago will be here like before you know it. But you do get some time right now to rest and get into an off-season routine. And Connelly, for you, the last 2 years have been long years of baseball. I mean, you get a full college season in, you get drafted, you go through the process of getting acclimated to a professional organization for the first time. And I know, just the one appearance with Salem in 2023, but then to go through an off-season, spring training, a full pro season, and now be into an off-season. When you look at 2024 as a whole, what do you think about being a professional ball player now and about yourself as a pitcher that maybe going into spring training you hadn't learned yet? What are some of the lessons you took out of your first full pro year?
Yeah, I mean, pro ball is a grind, every day you're playing 6 days a week. So it just goes into a lot of stuff that you're doing off the field. Obviously you have so much like of the coaches to help you at the field and the training room and in the weight room and with the pitching side of things. But, you got to take care of your body outside of the field and eat the right way and recover the right way with your sleep and everything like that. So that's really been some places that I've had to really focus in on, especially coming from college. Sometimes you don't take advantage of the sleep that you're getting because you have all the schoolwork. So being in pro ball, you have a little bit more time for that, and you're a little bit more honed in on those things. So that's definitely something that I've been focusing on. And then just as a pitcher, man, I mean, I'm just trying to go out there and compete every single day. So it doesn't really change too much from college. It's still the same mindset out there, just with a couple different grips in your hand that they've taught you from the pitching side of things with the Red Sox. But yeah, it's pretty fun.
Take me through, you make the jump from high A to double A. You get such a good start to the year in Greenville. You make the climb to Portland, and you flash some really, really good stuff in Portland. But obviously, that's such a huge adjustment from single A to double A, or single A to high A and then high A to double A. When you got to Portland and you get your first few times through against Eastern League opponents, what did you notice most about the way, especially hitters don't have a lot of familiarity with you yet, but how was the approach different in what you saw from double A guys versus what you saw at high A or even in the outing in Salem the year before?
Yeah, so in high A, one big thing that I noticed is a lot of guys are trying to get their swing off. So, they're very aggressive at the plate. They're trying to catch one pitch and do damage as fast as they can. So, getting up to Double A, I feel like it's a little more slow paced, I would say. Like within the at bats, the guys are a little bit more decisive on what pitch they're looking for, and they're really not going to swing at anything that they don't like when they see it. So just trying to start early in the count, being ahead. So getting that strike one and then taking that into the next couple pitches, and trying to make my pitches play off each other as best as I can. So these hitters are definitely a little bit more disciplined. Just typical like maturity, everything like that, a little bit older, a couple more years in the minor leagues. All that stuff takes a big role in that. So yeah, you just got to stay confident and keep throwing pitches up there and try and keep them off balance.
Yeah, and speaking of your pitches, I mean, one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you specifically is because of the success you had with the Red Sox last year. I mean, second in the organization in strikeouts with 138 and 103 and 2/3 innings. And I think it's a fascinating time to be a pitching prospect in the Red Sox organization. You look at Craig Breslow at the top of the front office, right? Andrew Bailey as the MLB pitching coach, Justin Willard, all he's doing is the director of pitching. We're hearing about so many philosophy changes in the Red Sox organization. Just how would you explain like what style is being taught to you guys as pitching prospects coming up and trying to be built into future Fenway Park pitchers?
Yeah, so I mean, all those coaches sit down with us in spring training. They'll get groups together and pretty much go through what their ideas are, and like pretty much where our next steps needs to be. And throughout the season, they give you primary goals, they're giving you secondary goals, all that type of stuff that you're trying to achieve within all your games that you're pitching. So they can give you a usage goal, they can give you a like upper half zone goal. They can give you a primary like velocity goal, is what you see a lot. So all those things, pretty much they're just trying to provide us with more tools for us to go out there and compete. So I know for me at least, one big spot that I've been trying to improve is velocity, and that was one of my main focuses in my pins and in game, and just really trying to have that fastball velocity tick up, which also obviously relates to weight room stuff and nutrition stuff a lot, as well. So that was one of my big goals, and then everything else is really just digging deep in pitch design pins. So you get into these bullpens and you're chasing a shape with your pitch. You're trying to put it in the zone, and then you're just taking that out onto the game and trying to get as much comfortability in that pitch as you can, and then you move on to the next pitch and try and figure out how to do the next one. So that's one big thing that they've done with me.
Yeah, and I'm glad to hear about velocity in particular because that's something I wanted to touch on. I mean, I was bringing up your data from UVA, your one season at UVA compared to where it was with Portland. I mean, your fastball, according to Synergy, was sitting 89.9. Now that's up to 91.4. So it seems like you're adding a few ticks, but your usage on the fastball went from 56 to 41, which fits in with a lot of what we've heard about the Red Sox. It's like, hey, if you have good secondaries, you don't need to lean on the fastball as much. Was that a thought process for you of like, hey, I can throw that slider more, I can throw that changeup more because they're getting more whiff?
Yeah, 100%. One of the main mottos that we use is throw nasty stuff in the zone. So, I mean, everybody trains to hit the fastball, and everybody's off speed is so unique to that individual person, just based on the arm slot and the metrics that go along with it. So, everybody's been training to try and hit higher velocities, higher fastball velocities. So obviously hitters are trying to adjust to that. And you're just trying to keep them off balance and never give them a chance to get comfortable with that fastball. Obviously you have to use the fastball to keep them honest at the plate. But just mixing and matching as much as you can and trying to keep them off balance, because your off speed pitches are usually going to result in better outcomes for you as a pitcher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you were talking about before some grip changes that have come as a result of working with the Red Sox. I think the changeup was one of them, but take us through what has changed in terms of the way you grip the ball and what the effects have been.
Yeah, so I changed my changeup. I was kind of like a two-seam oriented grip. I changed it to like a spike change grip. That was my big goal to attack during spring training, just trying to get like the vertical component of the pitch a little bit lower. than it was at in high or in college. And then after that, I mean, I made like a minor grip change to my curveball, added the cutter gyro slider thing that I have, and then have been working on the sweeper as well. So honestly, like it's a full new arsenal for me. So I'm still trying to get fully comfortable with it. But yeah, I mean, going into all those pins with the pitching coaches there is very beneficial just because you have them right there watching over your pitch shapes, and they tell you pretty much like which one's a good one, which one's not a great one, and what you're feeling, and they're trying to make adjustments with you. I mean, every pitch throughout that bullpen, and then you take it into the game and you sit down with them again, and they go over those numbers, and then you're just keep trying to tick away at each of those pitches. So.
Yeah, and I'm fascinated talking to pitchers now because, it used to just be you had a slider and you had a curveball, and now you're talking about the gyro slider or the harder slider or a cutter or the sweeper. I mean, when you're talking about the difference between the gyro and the sweeper that you're trying to add, what do you feel like those two pitches give you differently besides just more horizontal break between the two?
Yeah, so sweeper's a much larger horizontal break pitch than the gyro slider that I have. The gyro slider is a little bit easier to control in the zone. For me, just personally, I have a little more confidence in the pitch at this point in my career, and I feel like that's something I can throw to both sides of the plate just to keep both sides of the plate like very honest when I'm up there pitching. And then the sweeper is definitely a goal mainly for left-handed hitters, just because it's supposed to play a little bit better against left-handed hitters than right-handed hitters, because I have the curveball to go against the right-handed hitters. So just trying to play to the what all the metrics say, and that's kind of the idea behind all the different sort of pitch grips that we have.
Connelly, I want to go back to the early stages of your development as a top level, prospect, a draft prospect guy. People know you're drafted out of Virginia. A lot of people might not know you started at Army. You started in West Point, and after a couple seasons there, you transferred to Virginia and burst onto the scene and end up as a 5th-round pick. And it's interesting because we're in this era right now where Paul Skeens started at a service academy as well. Noah Song from a few years ago started at Navy. A guy who was a really big name in the prospect world. Take us through, the process of getting into a service academy and pitching so well those first couple years. I know that's not an easy decision to decide to transfer out. When did you kind of realize like, oh, I might have a chance if I go to a big program? It's not as though you went to some throwaway program. You go to Virginia. I mean, as good as it gets in college baseball. How did that process evolve for you to make the decision to go on to school in the ACC and then turn yourself into a 5th-round pick?
Yes, sir. It was a very tough decision for me to leave West Point. That school and military academy just gives you a certain sense of like a brotherhood, not only within the baseball team, but just within the whole entire school itself. You have like a sense of pride being there, and it means more than just baseball there. You have all the school that goes with it. You have all the military components that go with it, and it really builds your character and helps you become a lot more disciplined. So it's definitely a very tough decision when I was trying to figure out if I wanted to leave or not. And pretty much it came down to my coaching staff at West Point leaving, really sparked my interest in possibly leaving and putting my name into the transfer portal. So once my whole coaching staff left, entered the transfer portal, wasn't really expecting too much. And just got lucky with a couple schools reaching out to me, and Coach O'Connor and Coach Drew Dickinson at UVA allowing me to come on a visit and everything like that, and then figure it out after that how to get there. So that was awesome.
When you look at the things that you gained in your development being at West Point for a couple of years, Paul Skeens, I know, has talked about this with being at Air Force. You learn things going to a service academy that you're not going to be exposed to otherwise. I do a lot of work with Air Force athletics. I'm based in Denver, but down the road in Colorado Springs, and talking with coaches there about how much more they get out of athletes because of how much more you are asked to do as a student, as a cadet, as a member of the community. There are so many different aspects of being a student at a service academy, and a student athlete at a service academy is a different level entirely. Like, what do you think in your development at Army contributed to how good of a player you were that quickly? And how do you feel like you evolved at Virginia with skills that you learned at West Point that maybe you wouldn't have learned otherwise?
Yeah, so at West Point, I mean, when you get there, the first month and a half that you have is strictly military training. So you're embracing the suck every single day with all of your classmates, and pretty much being told what to do, and you got to be able to complete the tasks that they give you. So that first month of beast, what they call it, is not a great time when you're there. But after that, you get into the school year, you start getting your feet under yourself, and you start meeting a lot of people, and I mean, really just having a lot of role models to look up to within the baseball team was really nice for me and all my classmates, I believe, just because they kind of showed us the ropes, how to, get through all the baseball stuff while still being able to complete all your academics, and still being able to, put forth your best effort in the military side of things as well. So I mean, just being very disciplined through all that, I think put me at a spot where when I went to UVA, I was able to, dedicate a little bit more time to baseball, and really hone in on like certain things in baseball that I needed to improve on, like my body weight, and a couple other things like that. And one of the main reasons why I chose UVA is because the baseball program there is ran pretty similar to like a military program. So Coach O'Connor, Coach Drew Dickinson, and Coach Mack are really good at, keeping everything on a schedule, accomplishing everything they want in a day, and then moving on to the next day, and jumping right back into certain things that we need to improve on. So I think choosing UVA was a great decision because it was able to, keep some of that military aspect in me. And they asked me a lot about West Point to kind of implement a couple things into their program, which was pretty cool. So that was really nice.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about that phrase, and I've heard it before, embrace the suck. I mean, I think about how everybody who gets used to minor league baseball is always talking about the grind of minor league baseball and what it's like going from February all the way through September. Were there times this summer where you were just turning to your teammates and like, oh, we got to just get through May, June, and July and just embrace the grind of this? And you guys, and we turn to them like, you guys don't even know what this could be like.
No, I mean, minor league baseball is a grind in a different way, for sure. There's certain aspects of minor league baseball that is just a different grind than West Point is, for sure. Obviously, West Point, you have all the military stuff that you have to deal with, but I mean, when you're going out, especially if you're a position player, if you're going out and playing 5 days a week, that beats up your body pretty bad. So you got to do a lot of recovery stuff, and get in the training room and work with the trainers there a lot. It's just everything's a lot more baseball related, obviously in minor league baseball. So yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. And speaking of minor league baseball, I just wanted to go back to your Portland debut, which came on July 26th. And you're debuting for Portland. I think it was against Somerset, the Somerset Patriots. But the top three batters in the Sea Dogs lineup that day were Roman Anthony, Christian Campbell, and Kyle Teal. You got to throw to Kyle Teal. He's a catcher. He was your battery mate on that day. The Red Sox system is talked about as one of the most loaded in minor league baseball right now. What was it like just playing with those guys and getting to witness them, and especially working with Teal behind the plate?
It's incredible playing with them. I had Christian Campbell on my Greenville team for a little bit before he got called up to Portland. Obviously, had Kyle all of college. Played against Christian in college as well. Actually, gave up a home run to him my first debut against him. So,
Oh no.
yeah.
Okay, did you remember that when you saw him, or did he bring it up first?
Oh no, I remember that. That was yeah. So, because that was one of my first ACC starts. I think it was like my second or third ACC start. And he led off the game with a home run, so that was a little tough start to the game. But I mean, that was being in Portland was the first time I had seen Roman play. And I mean, for being a young prospect like he is, I mean, he's a beast, man. All of them are beasts. They go about their business really well, and they got a lot of determination. They know why they're playing the game, and they go out there and compete every single day. So it's great to watch.
And one thing I always ask guys, especially those who aren't from the New England area, is you get set up to Portland. Obviously, that's in Maine. It's not that long of a drive to Boston. But as a Red Sox prospect who's dreaming of making it to Boston someday, you're for the first time really immersed in New England culture. I mean, what just stood out about playing in Havelock every day and or every other week or so, and getting to learn about the place that you're hoping to make your major league home?
Yes, sir. Up in Portland, it's crazy the amount of Red Sox fans you have up there. I didn't realize it was like that up there. I mean, it seemed like everybody there loved the Red Sox. So you'd see people away from the field when you're going out to get food or something like that, and they're saying "Go Red Sox" or something like that. So they really embrace the Red Sox culture up there. They love the team. Obviously, we're trying to play for the team, so we get along really well up there, and there's a lot of energy behind those games, and passion just behind the songs that they play up there that are similar, just like Sweet Caroline. When you hear that in Fenway, it's pretty special. So
Yeah, and you're somebody who was born in Richmond, or you're from Richmond. I mean, like that's an Eastern League town in itself. I mean, what is it like getting to play in the league that I don't know how many Flying Squirrels games you went to or were aware of growing up, but getting to play in that league.
yeah, I mean it's kind of surreal. I never really imagined ever playing in that league. I grew up going to Richmond Squirrels games to see fireworks or something like that with my family and watch some baseball. Just because I always grew up around baseball and my brothers played baseball when they were younger. So yeah, it's pretty surreal to think that I could play in that stadium against the Richmond Flying Squirrels. Obviously, I have some friends who texted me after I got up to Portland. They were like, "Dude, you got to let me know when you come to play Richmond." Unfortunately, last year I don't think they played down in Richmond, but I think this upcoming year they play sometime towards the middle of the season. So if I'm still there, then hopefully I'll see some of my buddies down there.
Yeah, maybe Norfolk's not exactly a terribly long drive either. That's an international league team. If you're up with Worcester, they got
Yes.
options no matter where you go. Well, kind of, that lands on a perfect spot for, what I want to be my last question here is that you are at AA. You've dipped your toe in the water there. What kind of expectations do you have for 2025? Anybody who reaches AA talks about how they start to feel close, and you're going to your second spring training, as somebody who's firmly on the Red Sox map now. A, like how close do you feel, and B, how do you kind of view this upcoming season?
I mean, it's a little tough to think about, obviously, because you still want to keep that gritty mindset that every minor league player has. So I honestly don't think about it too much. I'm just playing, going out there and competing every single day. Obviously, I want to get to Boston. Everybody in our organization wants to get up to Boston and play for the Red Sox. I mean, that's everybody's dream. So just going out there and trying to compete against myself every single day and make myself better every day is my plan. So.
And is there one thing you feel like is going to be the key to making that happen in 2020? Either like you were talking about earlier, a sharper gyro slider, or that adding that sweeper. Is there one piece that you're really focusing on that think could get you over that hump?
Yeah, so my primary goal right now is obviously fastball velocity. Want to see that keep ticking up, and then secondary goal is that sweeper. So just trying to nail that one down, and hopefully that'll put me in a good spot and give me an opportunity.
All right, great. Well, Connelly, that's all we had for you. Thanks so much for taking the time out of the off season and spending it with us, here ahead of Christmas. This was great getting to chat with you. Best of luck with everything moving forward, heading toward spring training and going into 2025.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Well, huge thanks to Connelly Early for joining us on this week's episode of the show. Before the show, the Boston Red Sox 2023 fifth round pick. And with that, we pivot to some offseason discussion as a guy like Connelly Early getting, to this stage in his career, getting familiar with all of the things about being a professional baseball player. And one of the things about being a professional baseball player that is maybe weirdest or most confusing to people is coming up this week. And that is the Rule 5 draft, which is something that we always like to explain and discuss and debate and talk about as we get close to the winter meetings on the official podcast of minor league baseball. Sam, it's coming up. Rule 5 time of year, your favorite time of year. Some people get excited about the holidays. For Sam Dykstra, it's just Rule 5. Sam puts up a Rule 5 tree in his house. It's a whole thing for Sam Dykstra. The Rule 5 draft, man, what are we watching this year in the 2024 edition? And for those we know, year after year, month after month, week after week, we hear from people who are like, hey, I've just started listening to the show. Got questions about this, questions about that. Give us the primer on the Rule 5 draft, because most people, even when they have learned about it, by the next time it comes around, are like, wait, what is this again? How does this work?
Right. Yeah. So the basics of the Rule 5 draft are that if you are a player who signed when you were 18 or younger and you've been in professional baseball for 5 seasons or more, you are Rule 5 eligible. If you signed at 19 or older and you've been in professional baseball for 4 seasons or longer, you are Rule 5 eligible. The Rule 5 draft is done to basically give blocked prospects a chance. So if you are selected in the Rule 5 draft, if you are not protected by being added to the 40-man roster, which is what teams had to do earlier in this offseason, then you are eligible for the Rule 5 draft. Teams can take you in the Rule 5 draft, but if they take you, in order to stick in that new system, you have to be in the major leagues for the entire season. There are some stipulations in there. You could be injured, you could be sent on rehab assignment, et cetera, et cetera. But for the most part, you have to be with a major league team for the entire year, or else you get offered back to the team that you were originally in. So it used to be that you could uncover some gems in there. I think self-scouting has gotten so much better in recent years, and with data and the incorporation of that and the way it's just so much easier to get stuff on your own players and players from other organizations. Really good players are difficult to find in the Rule 5 draft, unless they are at like high A or lower and they're just not close to the majors. So it would be a sink or swim situation, and most of them are going to sink. So it's not worth the risk. So you'll see a lot of relievers taken in Rule 5. You'll see a lot of injured pitchers who are going to be rehabbing, but just have to fulfill, a couple days on the major league roster and get through. You'll see a lot of end of the bench types who get taken. You'll see somebody like Davison De Los Santos, who was taken last year by Cleveland because of his prodigious power, but had major approach questions, and they needed a power bat. So they just gave him a look in spring training. Didn't work out, got sent back to Arizona. So that you might see some teams roll the dice, but it's mostly going to be the very, very periphery of your major league roster that teams are looking to fill when they make picks, which will be coming up next Wednesday at the winter meetings in Dallas.
Okay. So with that being laid out, what are you watching for this year? Like, are there names that stick out to you of potentially guys who could be moving? It's always such a crapshoot with the Rule 5 draft, because so often you'll hear a name and think, all right, that's an intriguing one. And then a few months later, he's offered back to his original team, or we don't really hear about him, making a big league roster or, doing the things that are required to make you a notable Rule 5 draft selection. Now, there's a minor league portion that complicates things, because sometimes we'll see names taken there and guys will stick with their new organization. But who is somebody to keep an eye on for this year?
Yeah, and just to throw that out there, because I didn't mention the minor league phase, you only have so many roster spots that you can put on your AAA roster, which doesn't mean you're opening up on the AAA team per se. But if you are Rule 5 eligible and you're not on that AAA roster, then you can be taken in the minor league phase, and you don't have to stick anywhere. It's just like, hey, we're getting another guy who might be interesting. Sometimes it's guys you heard about 3-4 years ago and who've been severely injured or just stalled out. So keep an eye on the minor league phase. Sometimes somebody pops up there. But in terms of candidates who could be taken this year, we wrote up a story about this on MLB Pipeline. We did one for every system, somebody who is intriguing in one way or another. And I'll throw out 2 names from my systems, and then one from Jonathan Mayo's system and one from Jim Callis's systems. For the Rays, it's Evan Reifert for me. Now, if that name sounds familiar, it might be because a few years ago in 2022, He had 11 and 2/3 scoreless innings in the Arizona Fall League. He struck out 25 in that span, was the standout reliever in that Fall League. Then he had right shoulder issues in 2023. This year pitched at Double A Montgomery, 41 and 1/3 innings, had a 1.96 ERA with 65 strikeouts and a 0.92 whip. Now, I remember covering him in that AFL, and he just had a wipeout slider. Guys could not touch his slider. He had command issues before that. And I remember him telling me, like, the Rays just told me, hey, man, just aim for the center of the zone. Enough of this trying to be too cute. Your stuff moves so well. If you just throw it with intent towards the middle of the zone, it's going to break outside anyways or in on lefties. You'll be fine. Just focus on getting it within the zone to begin with and let your stuff do the talking. It seems like that worked out this year for Montgomery. I'm a little surprised the Rays didn't protect him because they love their relief arms. They love specialists. So he's got a 94 to 97 mile an hour fastball, but his slider is still the standout pitch. He threw it 52% of the time last year in Double A. And when batters swung at it, they missed 70% of the time at Double A. Now it's a jump from Double A to the majors, don't get me wrong.
Pretty good.
But yeah, a whiff rate of 70%, Tyler, per swing. Not on all sliders, but just ones guys were
Sounds like
at.
My dating life back in the day. Am I right, Samuel?
Hey, you just had to connect once. You could have the worst batting average in history, but as long as it doesn't go 0-0-0.
That is true. I did get that figured out in the end.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah.
70%. Yeah, it was like 99%. Anyway, please continue. I apologize for that. God, that was a bad joke. I apologize for that. That was so dumb. Anyway, you're the highbrow.
It was a good one.
Podcast.
It was a good one. So Evan Reifert, just keep an eye on him. We'll see. Maybe teams, don't want to take a guy out of Double A, but I think the stuff is certainly interesting there. And organizations value different pitch types differently. I mean, some organizations that are just like, hey, if you got one 60, 70 grade pitch and you just want to lean on it as much as Reifert does, go with God and do it. Some might be like, hey, we wish you had a better fastball or a third pitch and avoid that type. So we'll see. That's one I'm keeping an eye on for me. And then another one I'll just throw out there because he's a name you should recognize. He's a former top 100 prospect, and normally those guys do get protected, is Christian Robinson with the Arizona Diamondbacks. You might know his story of the last few years, which is an unfortunate one. He was arrested in 2020 while he was undergoing mental health issues. And then he had struggles with a visa after that, after pleading out. So he could actually play in games here in the United States. He finally got back on that horse in 2023, spent 2024 with Double A Amarillo, put up not great numbers there. He only batted .214 with a .350 slugging percentage with 11 homers and 10 steals. He struck out 35.8% of the time in 110 games. So it was a sizable sample. But he got a little extra time in the Arizona Fall League. I feel like every time I saw Salt River, Christian Robinson was playing. He's clearly a guy who's making up for years worth of missed at bats. And he looked back to being kind of the power speed combo that made him a top 100 prospect years ago. Now there are still contact issues, and I think playing time is what he needs to get over those. But if you are a team looking for an extra outfielder and you're willing to be patient, Christian Robinson could be worth that roll of the dice just to see if that hit tool is going to play at all in the major leagues. And you could get a potential, I don't want to say cornerstone outfielder, but somebody who could be that power speed type down the line. Now I've said one from a Jonathan Mayo system. That's Sammy Siani from the Pittsburgh Pirates. Looked another guy who looked so much better in the Arizona Fall League than he did during the regular season. Jonathan has pointed out that he underwent a swing change, a little bit of smoother bat path, flatter bat path that allowed the power to play more. He's also can run pretty well. He's played all three outfield spots on the defensive side. So he's that perfect kind of fourth, fifth outfield type if a team believes that swing path is definitely going to hold for him. So keep an eye on him there. And then in the Ranger system, somebody from Jim Cal's, Brian Magdaleno. He pitched at 3 levels in the minors, had a 1.27 ERA and 68 strikeouts in 42 2/3 innings. He struck out batters at a 41% clip, which was third in the minors among full season relievers with at least 40 innings. He has a mid-90s fastball and a mid-80s slider, which is coming out of a low, wide arm slot that could make him pretty dominant. Obviously worked last year at the minor league level, so maybe a team is looking to add to their bullpen with some lefty help with Magdaleno. So those are 4 names I'm keeping an eye out for. you never know who teams. I'm never going to do a mock draft for the Rule 5. That would just be craziness. I'm sure some other names will come up. Maybe none of those four even get taken for various reasons, but we'll be back to discuss more of the Rule 5 draft after it gets underway on Wednesday.
All right, Sam, that is far from the only thing at the winter meetings. And even though the winter meetings have very much evolved over the last 5 years or so, tell us what else you're keeping an eye on this week at the winter meetings. There are going to be huge moves made on the major league side as we anticipate. Potentially, we could see a Juan Soto deal. But before we talk about him, what else are you watching this week at the winter meetings?
Yeah, I mean, the winter meetings aren't what they used to be, right? Like it used to be, hey, this is where all the big deals are going to go down. And I've tried to pull back on that in recent years when it just hasn't really gone down that way. It the thing I keep hearing is like this is where the groundwork is laid for big deals. Like teams are meeting and getting to see each other and swapping information. So maybe something big like a Garrett Crochet deal doesn't happen next week, but it happens a month from now because of discussions the White Sox have had with other clubs. But in terms of things I'm keeping an eye on, I mean, it's got to be the Juan Soto deal to begin with. It sounds like that is kind of winding down, right? According to various reports out there, including from Jeff Passan and Mark Feinsand and others. It seems like we might have an answer by the end of next week, if not earlier. So then what is the trickle down effect from there? Do teams start going after the Corbin Burnses, the Alex Bregmans, the Max Frieds, the Willie Adameses that are that next tier of free agent? And then we kind of sort that out, right? Like if Juan Soto, let's say, signs with the Mets, my thought goes to, okay, what does that mean for Drew Gilbert? What does that mean for Jeb Williams? Guys who have played in the outfield in the Mets system and are banging down the door next year. If he signs with the Red Sox, what does that mean for Roman Anthony, who, could be a candidate for the opening day roster next year? Do they get both of those guys in the outfield alongside Jarren Duran, which would be a really, really good outfield? If it's with the Yankees, do they, what does that mean for Jason Dominguez? I don't think necessarily, I think there's room for both of those guys, but like my job is what comes after that for the farm systems, because Juan Soto, you are signing for at least a dozen years, maybe 15, 16, because he's 26 years old hitting free agency. So that's the big thing that everything else is going to kind of be settled around. But then you've heard some of the other deals that are kind of being sniffed around. I mentioned Crochet, Nolan Arenado seems like a trade that the Cardinals may be pursuing. What does that look like? Do they have to eat money in a trade? Do they get any prospect back, or do they just ship him out and be like, hey, give us one or two low-level prospects back, but we just want his money off the books in an open spot for a Jordan Walker at third base, maybe back at his natural position. So we'll see how I'm not expecting anything major outside of like either Juan Soto officially winding down or that big press conference that Scott Boras obviously loves next week in Dallas. But you never know what trades are going to come. As we're recording this right now, Luis Severino signed with the A's in a move that is very much surprised the industry, I would say. So I'm always looking forward to those surprises as well.
You got any others? You're gonna pick out like a just big bizarre like Juan Soto ends up a Tampa Bay Ray, just something out of left field.
Oh man, I wish.
I don't think that one, by the way. I don't think that's in the cards for the Rays or Juan Soto.
I don't think that either, but like I'm always just leery that the Mariners and Padres are going to do something because of their two general managers. The Mariners have a deep farm system to deal something like they're constantly being tied to like Alec Boehm with the Phillies, right? They need infield help. Go get Boehm, go get another third baseman. I don't know who that would be, but Jerry Dipoto is not afraid of dipping into his prospect pool to make that happen. And they have some interesting guys: Colt Emerson, Harry Ford, Cole Young, Felton Sellison. Like they have some dudes who they could trade to make a big deal happen. And the Padres, I can't remember where it was, so I apologize for not giving full credit, but Mike Schilt gave an interview. I think it was with AJ Przinsky. He was saying like AJ Preller's always got something up his sleeve. He's got something up his sleeve, up his shoes, up his everywhere, trying to work on improving the Padres. So, Roki Sasaki also looms, but nothing's going to happen with that at these winter meetings. It definitely seems like he'll sign after the January 15th international window opens. But once Soto once Soto signs, Saki's the next big name, and everybody's going to be getting their folders and their pitches ready for that.
So much drama awaits at the 2024 baseball winter meetings, and you can keep it locked at MLB.com and at MILB.com for all of the latest news from all of that. And coming up, the triumphant return of Ghosts of the Minors, and name that dude as well. We got a new wrinkle to name that dude this week, and it's all coming up after the break.
We interrupt this podcast to bring you another thrilling edition of Ghosts of the Minors. Now, here's your correspondent and host, Joshua Jackson.
Welcome back to Ghosts of the Minors, in which all of you out there in Radio Land must identify the legitimate historical ball club or player hiding amidst the fraudulent pair. One once really played the game. The others never even rode the pine. In the last segment, I asked you which of the following minor league baseball teams did at one time exist. A. The High Point Pointers. B. The Town Bluff Bluffers. C. The Red Cliff Cliffhangers. You're way up there in my estimation if you put your finger on A, the High Point Pointers, who represented their North Carolina city in the Piedmont League from 1923 to 1932.
PowerPoint.
If you were to point to the high point for the High Point Pointers, it would be 1928, when the High Point Pointers had a .615 winning percentage, just back of the Winston-Salem Twins' .617 mark, and came within one victory of a title in a 7-game championship series against those Twins. And you could point to the Pointers player-manager, Danny Boone, as a major boon for the club and the league. He won the Triple Crown with a .419 average, 38 homers, and 131 RBIs. He also led the Loop with 196 hits. But when it comes to the real story of the High Point Pointers, that's all besides the point. The true point person for the franchise was not Boone, but Sensenbach. Sensen what? Sensenbach. Wattenbach? Sensenbach. The High Point Pointers fan who held the High Point Pointers in highest esteem was one Annabelle Sensenbach. Sensenbach, who turned 33 in the summer of 1927, was at all but 3 of the Pointers games in High Point that season. Unfortunately, the team seems to have missed more than that. They were 62 and 82, second to last place. Yes, High Point was at its nadir, both in the standings and at the box office. Sensenbach convinced her uncle, who, according to newspaper accounts at the time, was a retiree with a chunk of money and no interest in anything but fishing, to buy the club. She immediately turned the team into a winner. As a wire service reported after the Pointers' pointed success of 1928, baseball is supposed to be a man's business, but in High Point, a woman has proven that mere man sometimes blunders when operating a ball club. The Pointers, under male ownership, were skidding close to the wall when last year Mrs. E. Sensenbach decided to do something about it. She kept right on doing something about it, including getting a new park built for the team, until the Piedmont League went through contractions late in 1932. Annabelle Sensenbach continued to be a force in High Point sporting scene until the Annabelle told for her, and she entered eternal rest in 1943, and the Piedmont League, missing the Pointers for over 2 decades, succumbed in 1955. And that's how the High Point Pointers fell off. Now, on to the question for next time. Which of these 3 monikered men made a 6-year career in the minors of yesteryear? A. David Billy Josephson. B. Joey David Bilson. C. Billy Joe Davidson. Want to know the answer? Think thrice. Or tune into the next Ghost of the Minors. But for now, you'll have to excuse me. My producer Ben Hill is gorging on leftovers, and I've got to cook up something fresh.
Huge thanks to Josh Jackson for returning to the show before the show airwaves with his latest edition of Ghosts of the Minors. Fantastic work from Josh, as always. And before we get out of here, it is time for our triumphant return to the winner's circle of the game show, sweeping the nation. Name that dude. I don't know why I said to the winner circle. I don't know if I'm going to get it. But name that dude takes a little twist this week. We got a little turn, a little tweak, a little change up. Sam, please explain.
Well, we did put out there a call for name that dude submissions and saying like
For name that dude dudes.
for name that dude dudes, yes.
Dudes for name that dude.
And we said like, hey, if there's somebody you want in this segment, reach out to Ben, Tyler, or myself individually so the others can't see it. And Kenny Van Doren, who works here at MLB Pipeline, another member of the crew, slacked me shortly after that episode came out and was like, I've got a few ideas for you. And there was one in particular that I think he wanted us to highlight, and I'll tell a story about that later. So I have a dude.
Yeah, Kenny knows me.
Submitted
Kenny knows
dude.
Tyler, but Kenny chose Sam.
Kenny chose me, yes.
A submitted dude from Kenny.
It's okay, Kenny. We appreciate you getting in touch.
He likes the mental process of me and Ben trying to think these things through so much that he was
That's
like, all right,
I
we'll
think
go to
that's-
Sam, obviously.
He wanted to eliminate me as a guesser.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
Sam's not,
Yeah,
may not be up to the task.
that was the
here.
thought. He's like, Sam's the most boring guesser, so I'm just gonna get in touch with Sam.
There we go. All right. So this dude debuted in the minor leagues in 1999. He was born in the Dominican Republic, so we don't have any draft information on him. He went to Escuela San Lorenzo, if you want his high school, according to Baseball Reference, but started in the minor leagues in 1999, pitched in the Arizona League with the Arizona Diamondbacks and South Bend in 1999. Got
Were
two
they the
games.
Silverhawks then?
They were the Silverhawks, yes, in 1999. 2000, he pitched in Missoula for 12 games, and then South Bend again. I guess I've given away that he's a pitcher here, but
You have.
yeah, that's fine. That's fine this early. The entire
This is what we call collecting clues.
Yes, I'm
That's
glad
how-
you picked up on
When
that
you said the
very
word,
specific verb.
when you said
I
the
used.
word pitched, I was like, ooh, I
Yeah.
think he's a pitcher.
2001, his age 23 season, he pitched exclusively at AAA El Paso. 2002 was in AAA again, this time in Tucson, still an Arizona affiliate. Tucson at the time were the anybody?
Is that the Firebirds?
What? Sidewinders.
Sidewinders is correct.
Man,
Yes.
And then in 2003 was back in Tucson with the Sidewinders. But he made his debut in the major leagues in 2003 with the D-backs. 2004 was between Tucson and Arizona. Sounds funny when you say it that way, but he was between Tucson and Phoenix, I guess, technically. 2005, same thing. 2006, played for both teams as well. And then 2007 is when he really stuck in the major leagues. Had a 2.66 ERA that season with 47 saves, if you can believe it, after going up and down a bunch of years. 2008 joined the Astros, pitched for them in 2008 and 2009, and then was with the Tigers for a bit, also pitched for the Mets. And his last minor league season that I can find was in 2015 with Syracuse, which was then a Nationals affiliate. I know I just talked about him pitching for the Mets, which he did in 2014, but in 2015, he's with Syracuse, which was then a Nats affiliate. Pitched in the Dominican leagues, the Mexican leagues, the Puerto Rican winter leagues. Ended his career in 2019 at age 41.
Wow.
Pitching for Aguas Calientes in the Mexican League, made 40 appearances for them.
I do have a guess.
Okay.
Because he has one of my favorite, if it's the guy I'm thinking, he has one of my favorite pre-first pitch rituals. Is it Jose Valverde?
It is Jose Valverde.
Oh, good one.
I only knew that because being as in tune with the 2007 National League West as I was. Jose Valverde used to come into the game and he would stand off the backside of the mound and he would rear himself back and then spit his gum like as far as he could. And I remember reading a story. I don't remember if this is true. I could probably Google this right now and find out. But I remember reading a story that essentially he was putting all of his negative emotions into the gum. He was chomping all of the bad spirits in his brain, in his mind, in his heart, in his body. He was putting them into the gum, launching them out of his mouth, not dealing with any of it, getting on the mound and trying to close out ball games, which I thought kind of cool, to be honest.
Yeah, no, it's good to have the signature entrance when you're a closer, right? That's the stuff that sticks with people come.
Here is a story from October of 2007 in the New York Times, which is just about the gum. So I guess it was a real thing. But yeah, Jose Valverde was good. He was like scary good for a little while. So and I also had no idea that he was still pitching until 2019 in the Mexican League.
I didn't realize this, but Jose Valverde is 33rd all time in saves with 288.
What?
He's between Armando Benitez, who had 289, and Rod Beck, who had 286.
I would never have guessed that. Never.
That's pretty cool to think about, like, I remember him a lot
during his tenure. I mean, obviously with the D-backs, but his time with the Tigers. I remember him a lot during his time with the Tigers. I would never have guessed, though, that he was like an all-time saves leader. That's really impressive. And now looking at his baseball reference page, he had 3 seasons of 44 or more saves. 47 for the D-backs, as Sam noted, in 2007. 44 for the Astros the next year. 49 for the Tigers in 2011. He finished 5th in the Cy Young voting in 2011. That is crazy, man. 75 appearances, 49 saves, an ERA of 2.24. He struck out 69, nice, against 34 walks and 72 in the third innings. 5th in the Cy Young voting. Like, and he only had a 12-year big league career only. But like, man, that's really, especially for a guy who was not a big league regular until he was 20. It was his age 27 season, really, before he was, 2003, he had that time up, as Sam noted, but 2004 bounced back and forth. It's like he wasn't entrenched until his age 27 season.
Yeah,
he was impressive.
You look at his minor league career, he was basically a closer very early on, which is not something you typically see. He had 18 saves in 2000 in his age 22 season, and that was his second year in the minors. Normally, if the pitcher's that good at that low a level, you just try to keep them a starter as long as you can. The D-backs were like, no, you're just going to work as a reliever, and to end up top 35 all time in saves. That's pretty incredible. Cool. Bonus point. Can anybody name his nickname? And we won't sit here too long on that.
Oh man, I do not remember that. You're going to say it and I'm going to be like, oh yeah.
Bazooka Joe.
That would have been good. Bazooka Jose would have been really good.
No, it was Papa Grande.
Oh, I do remember that. Papa Grande.
So there you go. Just a fun fact from Kenny real quick about why he submitted Jose Valverde. For my birthday in 3rd grade, my parents took me and my friends to an Astros game, and we got the small birthday section to ourselves. The team gave me 2 bobbleheads, Jose Valverde and Pudge Rodriguez.
That's pretty cool.
And I asked Kenny to confirm that he has both still, and he says yes, but the collection has significantly grown since 3rd grade. So this is why we give out bobbleheads at baseball games, to create memories like this and to be referenced on podcasts.
To be referenced on podcasts, which were not even invented when the bobbleheads were handed out. That's how long. Actually, that's probably not true. That's like 2008, 2009-ish. Also, the fact that Kenny was in 3rd grade in 2008 or 2009 makes me feel real old. But Papa Grande, congrats. Welcome back to the baseball discussion field, Papa Grande, Jose Valverde. That is pretty cool.
So if you at home would like us to feature a player, maybe that you got at a bobblehead at a game at some point along the line, please reach out to us at multiple social media sites, email, pigeon, however you want to do it. I'm on Blue Sky. Tyler, you're on Blue Sky. Ben's on Twitter. I'm on Twitter as well. There's many ways you can reach us.
There's no reference to gum on his Wikipedia page. That's garbage. You might have to edit that.
You have the power.
The gum thing really sticks with me. All right. Well, that'll do it for this week's episode of the show. Before the show, a huge thanks to Connelly Early for stopping by. Big thanks to Josh Jackson. Big thanks to Kenny Van Dorn for submitting this week's Name That Dude. And big thanks to Jose Valverde for sticking with me for now, over almost 20 years, thinking about him chomping 3 pieces of gum and spitting them out before he got on the mound. And for Benjamin Hill and Sam Dykstra, my name is Tyler Maughan. We'll catch you next week.